Hello and welcome to episode 66 of JagaVision. I'm your host, Nyberg, and I'm a co-owner of JagaSilk here in Victoria, BC. If you want to go check us out at JagaSilk.com, and you can see our different teas. We specialize in matcha, and today is going to actually be a really interesting show with another specialist in the industry. One of the owners of Just Maccha, also a company based out of Victoria. You can check them out at justmatcha.com. We're going to have Kip Home joining us at about 1:15. Every Thursday we do these shows, so if you're just tuning into an archived version and you want to join in live, you just want to go to either our Facebook page, you can go to twitch.com/JagaSilk, youtube.com/JagaSilk, and you can tune in Thursdays, 1 p.m. Victoria time. We'll be there. So this is week 66, if you can believe it. So we're more than a year in. Started these sessions off at the beginning of the pandemic, so it was sort of an opportunity to be a little bit of social, learn some things. It's actually turned into an amazing learning opportunity for me. I've had some amazing guests on. Last week we had Mr. Yamaguchi, one of the farmers we work with, on live from Japan. We've talked to some tea shop owners over in the Czech Republic, do we call it that now? In Czech. And then also live from Germany. We've had guests on live from India. We've had guests on from the East Coast, the West Coast, locally here in Victoria. It's been really interesting. All sorts of different folks on. Specialists in artisan ice cream making was a really fun one. We had a beekeeper on to talk about because we use honey for the fermentation in our tea-focused kombucha. We've had other tea shop owners on, and we've had episodes on teapots and understanding like I Ching teapots and different kinds of clay. And we had a fellow on who's a coffee roaster, and we were going into the ideas behind controlling the recipe for your water and understanding its makeup and how that impacts flavor. So it's been really fascinating, and we've had a very good time. So I encourage you to go check it out. But like I do at the beginning of every episode, I'm going to start off by drinking a tea that I've never had before. So I'm thinking for today, I want to try out this Bai Hao Yin Zin. Forgive my terrible Chinese pronunciation. And this is a 2021 harvest white tea, and it's apparently very good. So I'm going to do a very high dose of it. I'm going to do 5 grams. I have 90 degrees centigrade water that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go and rinse out my Gaiwan. It's interesting because I still have a little bit of reservations about trying out a new tea in a teapot that isn't glazed or made out of glass, because open clay plays such a role in extracting or transforming the water in a way that it will extract different volatiles, different flavor components. And I find that that can be a challenge if I'm trying to cup, especially a bunch of the same tea side by side, to truly understand it, if I know that what it's in is playing such a role in changing things up. So as much as I understand that the water every day perhaps is going to be a little bit different, etc., I feel like I need to just be okay with that variable change. Water will change, yes, but hopefully we can at least keep some of our variables under control, at least when we're doing our cuppings, so that we can understand the actual individual components of that tea in a side-by-side and not blame it on the brewing vessel. So I'm going to do this a little bit more like Gong Fu Cha style. I'm going to take the advice of one of our guests that we had on here, the owner of Teacan in Vancouver. I'm going to make my white tea with 90 degrees centigrade water. So oftentimes Gong Fu Cha, you would always use boiling water, but yeah, white tea's just, they're so delicate. I loathe to do it. So maybe there will be a day when I do. Today is not that day. So this is a very expensive white tea. If I were to sell this one, it would be kind of in the category of our competition grade matchas. So you'd be looking at 20 grams for about $44. We always sell our loose teas as 40-gram drinks, so this would be more in the $88-$90 range for 40 grams. So going to do 45 seconds for that first infusion. So I did 5 grams of tea and 120 grams of water. So let's see what that does for us. So smelling, kind of an umami, a little bit of sort of herbaceous richness. If you look at the liquid color, it's almost like just like water. There's a little bit of a pale, translucent green. That's what the wet leaves look like. Spent leaves. Smells fairly neutral. That tastes under extracted. So I'm going to cheat. If I was doing this in an official cupping table, you would never re-brew with the water that you just extracted with, because there's going to be a cooling down that happens. You're not going to get a real understanding of the tea this way. But I can cheat. It's just yeah, that's got a lot of potential. White teas are this interesting phenomenon. I've always taught in my classes that they were sort of on the lighter end of the oxidation spectrum, because when we're understanding tea, remember, it's all about that polyphenol oxidase enzyme, and enzymatic oxidation control is really the difference between a green tea, a oolong, crimson, a black tea, crimson teas, etc. And really, it comes down to when do you pause that process. When you do the process called kill green and kill it by hitting it with a whole bunch of heat. And with white teas, I had always taught that it was very lightly withered, like about 10 to 20% moisture loss via the smoothing process before the kill green process happened. But I learned more recently that that is not the case. That this is in terms of enzymatic oxidation, anyways, white teas are a little bit more close to crimson teas, and so trying to understand them a little bit more, and I guess a major difference is less manipulation of the leaves in terms of the bruising of them. Wow, it's very juicy. Kind of reminds me of we used to have this tea for a while called Timbisgik, from a First Nations community up north. Quite herbaceous, very nice. Yeah, that's interesting. I really want to bring in white teas, and I really want to understand them more. We always have 2 green teas, 2 oolongs, 2 crimson, aka black teas. We have, a couple herbal teas that we blend here to complement our matcha program, and yeah, kind of at a loss for how I should navigate the world of white teas, but one step at a time. Anyway, we've hit 1:15. I'm gonna see if our guest is able to join us. Kip Home. I think I have him on the line. Kip, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Amazing. Okay. Thank you very much, Kip, for making the time to join us on JagaVision today. Awesome. Yeah, and so you're one of the owners of Just Maccha here in Victoria, and it's nice to have a fellow enthusiast on the show today.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about Just Maccha and
Well,
sure.
So
what you guys are up to?
That's what we do. So that's kind of our specialty. We concentrate in the matcha arena. We have our own branded matcha, Hachi matcha is what it's called. But we also bring in matchas from, that's the one. We bring in other matchas from different suppliers in Japan.
Okay.
And the bowls and the whisks and all of that lovely accoutrement that you need to make matcha at home. We take a little bit of a less traditional approach, I suppose. You know, and don't always advocate that you need a bamboo whisk and a bowl and things like that to
Sure.
make matcha at home.
Yeah.
Right? So we use arrow lattes and sort of a go
And have a little bit of
from a convenience perspective, I suppose.
yeah.
Because I find, at least in our experience and the customers that we tend to attract, um, they're curious about matcha and they love the traditional aspect of it, but it becomes a little bit overwhelming for them. And this, I find, that process just simplifies things, right? It makes it.
Yeah, we do. We find it. I mean, we specialize in working with cafes, so I totally understand what you're talking about. It has to be about simplicity. Not everybody can really, as much as we all want. I think there's a desire, at least for many, to explore the world of traditional matcha. And maybe, you know, I've taken a few classes. I thought it's been fascinating to go and study here in town with Mito Sensei. I believe you know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's so awesome. But I think that for making it part of, say, I think you probably see this as well. That a lot of folks have this kind of health component to it. They're interested in the culture and they want to respect it, but they're also really fascinated by how much it can do for your body. And so we actually show them how to put a little cold water in a jar. We even made a little cartoon how to do this. You put in the powder, and then you know, and you just shake the cold water, and then add hot water, and you're off to the races, right? We call it office matcha or camping matcha, you know, like
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it totally works. And it'd be I wish I had one of those little. You know, I experimented with one before, but I found that it made a little bit of a mess. Is there like a technique for?
Well, yeah, we so I don't know if you can see that, but we tend to try to sell tulip-shaped cups.
Okay, yeah, so then
right, so that you don't get it doesn't blow up out of the top of the cup this way.
That makes sense.
You know, and that works very, very well. You know, I mean, that's actually sort of when people come in and ask about it, they say that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, very cool.
Like it's called a cocktail whisk, and it works really nicely. And you can actually put a little bit of cold water and matcha into one of these guys, like that's used in a lot of cafes, a stainless steel.
Oh, okay.
And you can just whisk away, and it kind of, you know, it's a little bit, it's like a little bit of both worlds. You know? Yeah. Well, look.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we're good.
Just it's yeah. Okay.
It's a tiny whisk, and it's a big.
I think that's going to take a fair bit of technique.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, especially with cold water. It's like, yeah, you're good. You know, I find cold water is your friend when you need to kind of back off from being super dialed in.
Right.
You can, because another thing that we're inspired by is definitely some of the movements in specialty coffee. So we get inspired by, you know, controlling mass and controlling temperature and all that stuff, which is different from the amount of concentration, learning, decades of study that's required for really internalizing tea ceremony. But we're trying to kind of make a consistent system, because for us, we really want people to be able to enjoy the tea similarly, you know, but right. Like a consistency, I guess, is what we're searching for, as impossible as that is. But yeah, no, it's interesting. That's, you know, I actually talked to a number of different tea ceremony instructors now, and they always get really excited by the way that you know, like you guys are doing things, or JagaSilk is doing things, where we're trying to make it a little bit more accessible. I think we'll still maintain.
And that's really our goal is accessibility, right?
100%. Yeah. It makes all the difference, you know. Otherwise, people are gonna be intimidated, and
a lot of people are, right? At least that's been my experience with it. You know, that they're scared about it. It's like, oh my God, that looks way too complex for me to ever be able to do at home. And I just like to be able to show people that no, this isn't complex. It's actually really simple.
You know, in Japan, matcha is often put on such a pedestal that you see it in ice cream and in gum and in chocolates and all sorts of things. But you know, does your average person have a whisk and a bowl of matcha sitting in their home? No. You know, and that's really sad. And I think a lot of instructors are sad about that, because it means that the young people are less able to participate in the next sort of phase of cultural transformation. You know, so yeah, it's sad when you can't make. And really, how did it start? You know, like it's we like to call it the coffee for samurais. You know, like this This is
Yeah, sure.
this is an energy drink for warriors, but it's also a chance for them to just chill and have a certain sense of shared social hierarchy where it's not as intense and they're not in danger of getting killed or killing so much in the tea house. There's like a peaceful element to it.
Yeah.
There's a really cool, I think, tradition behind it. That part of it comes from this sense of it being, fast, but really good for your system and an opportunity to share. Just like tea culture all around the world, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think we try to diminish that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still, our tea shop is still sort of a tea house, right? It's a safe place to come and enjoy a tea amongst friends.
I love your space.
I think we try to promote that culture.
How was the pandemic affected things? I saw that you guys you used to have two locations.
We used to have 2 locations. We had to close the one down in Oak Bay.
Was that because of the pandemic, or did it just make sense at that time?
Really,
for business, or?
At the time, right back in March or April, right, it was extremely difficult to make any sort of rational decisions.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
What was going to happen? Humanity.
Everything was up in the air. I had, I was on the hook for a lease, and I was looking at no money coming in, and we just kind of made the decision. I tried to work with my landlord, but he was just not having it. He was like, "I need to get paid."
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. So it was just easier for us. I mean, it was a painful decision.
Yeah, of course. Well, it was your original, right? Like,
yeah, it was our original store, right?
Yeah.
But my relationship with my landlord deteriorated rather quickly in that situation. And whereas my one downtown, my landlord was fantastic.
Yeah, we were very blessed to have a very supportive landlord. It was more like, hey, you talk to us and we'll figure it out, kind of thing. So
yeah.
That's what I think we all want to hope for. But it's not what you're not the only ones. I think
no,
had some
right.
really challenging experiences during with landlords. It's been a problem across Canada. Even when they had the rent support from the government, at first it was like the landlords had to do it, and there was lots of landlords who were like, what, I'm not,
I don't want to be.
Yeah, it's really sad.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, it just ended up that we needed to move away from that situation, and sort of now a year later from it, it's actually worked out to be a very good situation for us, right? Because it's kind of focused us just on the one location, which we were dividing our time between 2, so now we only have the one to worry about.
Right.
Right. And it seems that a lot of our customers have migrated from the Oak Bay store to the downtown location. So,
and then
it worked very well.
And then I guess we also, I can imagine you as well, getting a little bit more support online than before the pandemic.
It's been not bad actually. I've been. It hasn't always been our focus, and maybe that's to our detriment. But again, like you and all of this stuff, the tech side of it is.
Yeah, it's new.
Right.
Right. Just figuring it out. Yeah.
It's figuring it all out.
Yeah. We used to. I don't know if you knew this, but we worked with a business partner on a different corporation entirely. We opened up a coffee house that was called a tea and coffee house, and it was just across the street. It's called Spiced Water, and it kind of really focused on our matcha but it served like rotating line of coffees, and we had a lot of fun doing it. But it didn't work out, and I remember that the business plan felt good. We had this customer support, but it was just like you. It was back end stuff that just caused it to have to dissolve, and we. I found that when I stepped away from it, having to sort of split myself in half for so long to make sure that both projects were successful was such a. I think I realized how exhausting it was, and then when it ended, and finally I could just focus on JagaSilk, just how much, because I was doing JagaSilk on its own before the second project, and then I did the 2 projects together, and to make JagaSilk survive while doing the second project, I had to me and my wife had to have really refined systems. We had to really tighten the bolts, and really, the business we had to be a lot more careful with how we managed our time. And then when Spiced Water ended, and we could focus on JagaSilk again, it was like walking into a new business, and suddenly we had so much time, and we didn't have to devote it all to to JagaSilk. We could actually have a little bit more. I don't know what the pandemic also has offered. I think is as horrible as it is, and I've mentioned this with a number of other guests too. Is it does feel like it's been a chance to sort of take a macro look breathe for a moment in the insanity and just like pause and go, okay, what do I want to do? You know, like how do I reconnect with myself, reconnect with my business, and what is it that we're trying to do here? Because there was also an opportunity there to just walk away and nobody was going to judge you. So if you were like feeling like really like the business was just, you know, if it was, maybe you might be making money but just not making sense emotionally or spiritually, that was the moment, right? And so
sure. I think a lot of people took advantage of that too.
Did you find that you have more time now with the second location no longer there? You can
I think, yeah. I mean, from a perspective, from a working perspective, I was dividing my time between the store and all of the other things that are involved in running a business, right?
Right.
I'm a chartered accountant by profession.
Right.
So that's what I did before we got into the tea business.
Right.
So I like the back end work that's involved in the business. I like all of the lease negotiations and just that sort of stuff I thrive on, right?
Yeah. I've learned to love it.
Right.
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
As you do, right? The bookkeeping aspects and sort of doing all the taxes and all of that stuff that sort of goes along with all of these things.
We now do all ourselves.
And that's sort of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of my comfort zone, right? So the marketing and the all of those other things, I sort of shied away from a little bit, and now I'm giving myself an opportunity to focus on those things. And again, it's a learning process and learning how, to expand out our website and what works and what doesn't work, and experimenting a little bit more with the online marketing and what works on Instagram, and connecting all of those things together and things like that. And I mean, and a lot of that stuff moves at a pretty quick pace anyway.
Yeah, and you're on a podcast.
I'm on a podcast. This is my first podcast. It's real exciting, right?
Awesome. Okay. No, that's great. Yeah. So you can I guess explore different elements of yourself, or at least invest a little bit more in some areas that maybe were outside.
Yeah, a little bit more
time. And have you found that, like, for us, we really had to tighten the ship a little bit in terms of staffing, so we have less staff. But now that we're kind of back into things, I guess for us, the equivalent to kind of shutting down the second location for us was we're mostly closed to the public now. We're only open on Fridays, hey. So we only open for drink service on Fridays, and we only serve out in the courtyard. And then we've put a huge focus on building on our online presence and really putting that time investment in with our wholesale clients. But yeah, I think it's been really interesting just to see where people are actually really comfortable with very unusual decisions, I guess is how I would summarize the whole thing. And
yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. I tend to agree with that. And I mean, we're doing the same thing, right? Rationalizing where to invest our time, right? As emotionally draining as closing that store was, I mean, I think it ends up being a better thing for both myself and my wife, who's my partner in this business, like you. Right? I mean, that was kind of her clubhouse, the Oak Bay location. She had her friends down there, but I find a lot of those people have kind of transitioned a little bit downtown, which is nice. So she still gets to keep that aspect of it. But at the same time, the one downtown offers us a lot more opportunity to offer different product mix.
Yeah.
Right. We have a matcha soft serve that we do, and we sell ice cream downtown.
I just had your matcha ice cream yesterday. It was great.
Sorry?
I just had your matcha ice cream yesterday. It was great.
Oh, well, thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's been very popular. And, we've been trying to, I guess be a little bit more thoughtful about how we do that, and a little bit more creative.
Well, I'm curious then. Well, maybe while we're talking, we can be drinking some tea as well. I'm
already drinking it.
Yeah, speaking of creativity, so I was in your shop. I had your imperial matcha. It was lovely, really smooth. Tiffany, your wife, prepared the drink, and it was really, really nice. You want to tell everybody? So if somebody wants to go on to justmatcha.com, they're going to look for the Shincha, so new tea, Hachi Matcha. Now, all tea that comes out, I guess, around this time is technically Shincha, I guess. What is it that
well, this actually came out back in June.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's basically the fresh harvest, right? I mean, I don't know what your farmers do, But ours, the guy that we tend to deal with, he tends to bed that stuff down for a couple of months, right? Picks the leaves, puts them in cold storage, lets them sort of
set. Yeah, or rest. We call it resting.
Right?
Yeah.
Rest a little bit and sort of let the flavor sort of. So with this, they don't let it rest, right? Or tea, it just gets picked.
And it's out.
Picked,
yeah.
And it's out, right? And so it's very fresh. We've been doing it for a few years now. I really like it. I like this one. This year, it's got a really deep finish. I really like that the how long that sort of stays on your tongue.
Okay.
That was my impression of it.
So what makes it? So this is a, if I remember correctly, it was like a $50-ish tea, or it was.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it's $49.
So what makes this tea special compared to your other selections? Is it that richness? Is it
that freshness about it?
Yeah.
Right. That it is so fresh and that it is so new, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has a very different flavor. So the other teas that we serve, they have that sort of aged taste to them, like that they, they have that
rested taste, not like
taste.
Not oxidized aged, but rested.
No.
Rested.
But there's a it's like with anything, right? Yeah. If it's had a chance to sort of rest a little bit, the material, the flavors mature, right? And that's what I find with most of our teas.
I've been warning people when the Shinsha comes out, when we're because we bring in the tencha, right, and we mill it here, so we get to rest it here, and we find that it gets a little bit different depending on the time of year that we mill it, and it's that resting phase, right? And I say, May, June, when everybody's harvesting their first harvest, and if you mill it right away, it's quite bright. It's very floral.
Yeah, it's very bright.
And you don't really get as much umami. And it seems like the umami, or that sort of like soupy, brothy background note, develops, I think, through the resting period. And so it is kind of an opportunity to highlight the more floral qualities of that. Is this selection? I believe it's from Kyoto. It's from Kyoto Prefecture. Do you know if it's Ujitawara or if it's like all tea grown in Kyoto is called Uji-cha, but Ujitawara and Wazuka are kind of like the big producers. Is this Uji City also produces a small amount of tea? Do you know specifically?
You get into far more.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just no. It's awesome. Okay, but we do. So it's from Kyoto. Then here's a question for you, Kip. I guess I should just be drinking it. So I have another question. It was mostly going to be, what have you noticed this year versus last year? Did you buy this exact same tea in 2020?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So we've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. What was the difference? I think the big difference for me was how long the flavor lasted this time. So how big that flavor was.
This year, very different year. I found that most of the Kyoto teas are just tasting better than last year. I think there's a question of just a slower growing period, and I think when it's colder during harvest time, they grow a little slower. They focus a little bit more on those volatile oils, and you just get a nicer tea. And 2021 seems like just a nicer year. It smells really nice.
It to me, it's been my experience with it has been really quite good. So and I really like our Shinsha matcha. It's different. It's something it's something not everybody does.
Mm-hmm. Out of curiosity, Kip, does the farmer sell it to you as a Shinsha, or do you call it that? Like, is this more of a self-named thing?
No, it's sold to us as a Shinsha.
Okay, because the reason I asked that is I didn't know this, but sorry, go ahead. I can't hear you. You're cutting out. What was that? Oh, Kip, are you there? Oh,
I'm here.
Oh, there we are. Okay, I can hear you now. Sorry, you were saying.
It's sold to us as a Shinsha product.
Okay, awesome. And the reason I asked that is because I didn't know this. I just learned this 3 years ago, but apparently not so common in Kyoto, but most other regions do a process called finish firing. So after they get the raw tea, or they call ara in Japanese, the ara tencha, which would be then milled into the matcha, is after they finish processing it into shiage tencha, which is kind of like when they kind of get it to a smaller size so that it's easier to mill in the mills, they toast it a little bit. for about 3 minutes at about like 80, 90 degrees, sometimes as much as 100 degrees centigrade in a tea roaster. And I didn't know about this process, but what's cool about Fukuoka is they actually have different roasting recipes for shincha than they do later in the year. So not only is there a resting period, but they'll actually adjust the coordinates of that final toasting to highlight or reduce certain qualities in the tea. Isn't that fascinating?
That's very fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like, so shincha, of course, when we're talking about loose tea, is often the kind of the fresh harvest of, say, a sencha. And they'll just call it, that's kind of like the more common way of using the word. And although you can use it for, of course, for your tencha, for your gyokuro, for whatever it is that you have, but yeah, I didn't know that there's actually like a change in how they toast it depending on the time of year. I thought that was fascinating. So maybe, and it'd be interesting to ask him, is there a difference in how he processes it for shincha? Is it just the resting? It might be a firing difference too, if he fires.
I'll bring that up the next time I talk to him.
But Kyoto is also infamous for looking down on firing, so he might be like, oh, we don't fire, even if he does.
Possible.
What am I doing with this tea? How am I want to make it Kip's way. What are you tell me how to make it. I have a scale, but I also have a measuring spoon. I can get myself a bowl that's kind of tulippy. Is that what I want to do? I don't know. Don't think I have one of those. What if you didn't have a little fuzzy?
We do.
Sorry. Hello?
No.
The connection is a little bit.
I'm still here. Is it cutting out again?
Yeah. Oh, okay. We got it. You're there. Okay. So if I don't have a little latte frother.
Well, that's fine. You can mix it up with a bamboo whisk. That's fine too.
Okay. All right. I got me a bamboo whisk. So
I know you do.
So
you just make it up traditional, right? A half a teaspoon of matcha to half a cup of water, and 70 degrees is lovely.
Okay, great. That's exactly what I had it set. So if you were talking to our viewers and you were explaining, say, like they were just hanging out at Just Matcha, and you're explaining them how to make it at home, what if they don't have a temperature variable kettle? How do you get them to 70 degrees? What's your recommendation?
Well, I think I learned this from you actually.
Okay.
That boiling water, move it to a room temperature vessel. It's now 90. Move it to another room temperature vessel. It's 80.
Perfect. Yes, and
then you put it in your thing, and you're at 70, right?
And to be fair, I learned that from to give credit where credit is due. I learned that from a tea school in Uji, where you can go and have tea, and there's people with their tea instructor tickets on their waist, and you order the tea, and then you make it. They just explain to you how to make it, and so they were suggesting that, and since then it's come up a lot. The vessel transfer technique. Okay, so I'm not going to do that because I have my temperature variable kettle, but that's good to know. So for the viewers watching, boiling water is 100. Anything hotter is steam. So if you want to transfer that around, like into your bowl to preheat it, throw that into a measuring cup. Kip is suggesting a half teaspoon of tea, which weighs 1 gram. So I'm just going to do 1 gram. And then a half cup. Oh, Kip, I did forget to tell you, and I'm sorry about that. Every week we're joined by another guest. Her name is Sherri. She's from Sister Speak Music. She's not a non-industry person. I'm just going to welcome her to the call. And she just has lots of great questions that I don't know the answers to. And we'll try and figure it out together. Kip, this is Sherri from Sister Speak. Sherri?
Hello.
Hey. Okay. So Sherri from Sister Speak, and we have Kip home here from Just Matcha here in Victoria.
Cool.
And Sherri has been we've been sponsoring her tours around the world for her music career for the last 10 years, and she's got 3 studio albums, and she helps us set up our live music here in the courtyard every Friday, and yeah, we have a really great relationship with her, and it is somewhat nepotistic, and she is my sister, but that's okay. So
good to disclose that.
Yeah, right. Full disclosure. But yeah, I encourage you to check out Sister Speak Music. Anybody watching, and Kip as well, you should definitely check her out. I'm on her show every every week she has a live performance she does through her Patreon, and I go on as a guest quite often, and then she always joins JagaVision to throw in her questions. So, Sherri Ann, Kip was just walking me through the process of making tea at their space. So I'm gonna do. Why don't you join in too? You're gonna do 1 gram. She doesn't have the Hachi Matcha. She has one of our selections, Kip. But we'll try it. It'd be interesting to try the technique. So 70 degrees. So 3 vessel transfers. 60 grams of water over 1 gram of tea.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I have this 1 gram spoon that I got from a Chinese medicine doctor.
Amazing. Okay, cool.
I don't have my scale. So.
So you're gonna. It's a half teaspoon.
Yes, that's what this is. This is a 1/4 teaspoon.
Okay. Did you say half a cup, Kip?
Half cup.
Half cup. Okay, so that's 120 grams.
So I still have my all my tools.
Hey,
Brought 'em over here.
Kip, do you want to try your tea using the strength that we suggest at JagaSilk? See what you
Sure.
think? Yeah. Okay. We just do a full teaspoon, and we do instead of a half a cup. What's 90 mils? I guess it's 1/3 of a cup.
1/3 of a cup. Okay, so you guys go thick.
We go thick, and I bet you from the smell and color and appearance of this tea, probably be amazing that way. Have you ever had koi?
Yeah, I probably would actually. I haven't. I must say I haven't.
Have you ever done koicha before? You know, have you ever
Do one of
found
these.
that the whisks, when they decide they're going to break, they break so fast? It's like a
So I just got a new one after 5 years.
Yeah, that smells really nice.
Yeah, assuming that's about 1/3 of a cup. Here.
So what's the
It's
temperature?
delicious. Wow. It's very nice. Very, very nice. Wow. So how do you have any like if you were going to tell people about the farmer, are they long history of making tea and all that fun stuff, or are they new to the process fairly, or
No, it's
the
a
story behind this tea?
the supplier that we use is a. Well, I guess he's quite a large supplier out of Japan. Have I talked to all of the farmers? No, I talked to their marketing guy, right? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've
Okay.
never been to Japan. I don't have that sort of relationship with our tea.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not.
What is it that excites you about this tea? Then?
Well, listen, I really love the depth of the flavor. I love how long it lasts on your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just seems to go on, and then you think it's going to end, and then it keeps going a little bit further.
Yeah, there's like that very nice richness to it.
Yeah, it really does. And then I found that the second one, it even like the second sip of it, it opened up a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and that's still you still get that same depth, but it's unlike sort of maybe last year's. Last year's had like a bit of an effervescence to it,
Interesting.
whereas I don't find you get that this year.
It's very. So it was almost sparkly.
Yeah, it was almost sparkly.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I don't find that is happening this year, so I don't know what the reason for that is, but it isn't, and which isn't bad or good or whatever. It's just a little bit different for us, but a really lovely tea experience. And I find it's very versatile. It's good hot, it's good cold. You can do a lot of different things with it.
The name of this episode, I call it Sourcing Matcha. So I figure it'd probably be a good idea for me to talk a little bit on that. When you're sourcing matcha, and I think personally, I think you've chosen a really nice selection. What is an example of the process that you go through to end up here?
Well, I mean, I'd love to tell you that it was extremely complex, and that we run around different tea beds in Japan, and I'm sniffing tea leaves.
But it's not happening.
No, we're here, right? I have young kids. I don't get a chance to go to Japan. It just doesn't really work out that way.
You're right.
So whenever I'm dealing with somebody or a new potential client of ours, I get them to send us a sample or whatever they've got as far as wares.
Mm-hmm.
We try it out here, and if we like it, we buy some more. And if we don't like it, it doesn't go any further than that.
Well, the reality for us is that that's definitely how it begins for us too. So we search out a region or an origin that we're interested in. We're lucky enough that one of the owners of the business speaks and reads Japanese, so that does help quite a bit, and she can help with figuring out some smaller farms, which is what we really like, and then we get to ask for samples, and same thing. I actually find though that more than the tea flavor, a lot of the decision-making process ends up coming down to how interactive the person is. Are they actually responding to emails? Like, I don't know about you, but we're pretty small potatoes when it comes to matcha importers, and so some of them just don't give us the
I've had that experience
just
a number of times, actually.
They're like, oh, our minimum order is 100 kilos of matcha, and it's like, maybe not for me. Can we start with 1 kilo?
And the truth is, I probably don't want to deal with that guy anyway.
I know, because how old is it, right? Like, if he's pre-milling 100 kilograms of tea, then maybe that's not the best thing.
Your quality control probably isn't to the level that I'm hoping for anyway.
Yeah.
As a reseller of this particular product.
By being a small company,
really enjoy this sort of thicker tea.
Yeah,
it's really lovely.
2 grams 1/3. Yeah, that's awesome. Sherri, what do you think of Kip's style? It's a little bit lighter. It's more I think thirst quenching, and still brings out almost like a genmaicha toasted rice kind of flavor to it. Hey?
I love it, actually. This is perfect because it's my second matcha today, so I'm so happy that you were encouraging the 1 gram and more water, and I even added a little oat milk to it.
Nice. Okay, awesome.
Quite extraordinary.
So I'm trying. Which one am I doing here? Okumadori.
We're gonna do that. Actually, that's a part 2. I wanna do a session with you, Kip, where we I'm gonna get you a scale, and I wanna just like have a little bit of a back and forth.
Well, I'll come to your store.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I have this secret plan though. I want you on JagaVision again, just one more time. We'll just.
Okay.
If you can make it happen, I'm not gonna twist your arm, but man.
No, that's fine.
It would be lovely.
A quick question about sourcing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's so amazing, so interesting to find out about. Like, so do you order the sample, and then what is the average order of matcha, like in terms of kilograms?
God. We've got a couple of places that'll, they sort of a minimum order quantity of maybe 5 cans per varietal, or depending on sort of how they go. But most pretty good. What I do find is though that we aren't always offered a wholesale price.
Okay. Yeah.
So we might be charged Japanese retail.
Right.
And then you just kind of got to mark it up from there, which isn't necessarily the best pricing that you can get. But when we're dealing with such small quantities, you don't have a ton of leverage as far as pricing goes, right? You can't say, I'm not going to do that. I mean, if you want our tea, this is what the price you're going to pay for.
If you want to buy less, you get the less price. If you want to buy more,
exactly.
you get the more price. Yeah, I'm
right. My experience is, and this isn't, this is just probably more to my marketing ability than it is to anything else. But whenever I've bought a lot of tea because I really liked it and thought I'm going to sell a ton of that, I ended up putting it on sale.
Oh no, fair.
Right, basically what I paid for it at some point.
So your loss doesn't make sense.
Necessarily there, right?
Yeah. We used to we would put our product on sale when it got older than 3 months from the mill date, and it felt really kind of painful because I overbought it, and they were always milling for me, and I still do that, but because we're milling ourselves, that's made such a big difference, Kip. Is I think that's the most monumental thing that we've done is just helps so much with that freshness because we have more control.
Sure.
Right?
Do you not find that when your shipping expenses go up because you're shipping this instead of this?
Well, I used to bring in matcha every month, and if it went, and I would have multiple selections selling side by side, and I would sell through one, and then the other one it would get like 2 months old, and I wouldn't be as excited about it. And when I was less organized, I'd be like, oh, this customer, they really appreciate it when it's fresher, and this customer doesn't care as much, and so but I don't do that anymore. Now it's just very black and white, first in, first out. But what's nice is with Tencha, I can just I can just buy a bunch of it. I have a bunch of deep freezes. I can put like, 20, 30 kilos of tencha into a deep freeze, and then I can slowly pull from it. So I can actually make my yearly purchase. So I used to have to do a monthly purchase, and then I can do a yearly purchase, and it just helps me just buy what I need for the year. And then, it's been a process to get there, and, it helps a lot that we're predominantly wholesale. Because of the wholesale, that helps with the volume and stuff. But what's really doesn't help with the volume is the fact that, we have this cafe standard, we call it, and we do a lot of volume on that. But this kind of quality, we end up being in a very similar boat as you. With the sencha, for example, from Fujioka, I was just on the phone with him a couple weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm glad you like it and enjoy it, but I have so little of it that if you really want a kilo of it, it's the 80-gram retail price that I charge everybody. So I guess because for him it is basically his wholesale price. Like there's no way you can do less than that, because he's put so many resources into it, and he's gotten so little out of those resources that if he sells it for any less,
it's not worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I get that. Have you how have your experiences with shipping been?
Horrible. Yeah, the best thing I ever did though was set up an account. Here's a plug for DHL. Because for a while there, Canada Post just wouldn't ship by air, right? I think that might still be the case. And if you get hard goods, you can use Kuroneko, or Yamato or whatever. But DHL. It's if you're a wholesale.
DHL.
Yeah, if you set up like a commercial account with them, it can be really good. So. Yeah, but it's been terrible. Like we buy from China as well, and I remember getting pictures from our logistics organizer that we work with, a company in Vancouver, and they're like, yeah, this is where your product is, and it's just like so many what are those things called, containers of product just waiting for boats that aren't showing up. And then when we had this one that took 2 months to get on the water, when it would normally take 2 weeks. And then it finally got here, and there was a state of emergency in Canada because of the fires, and the trains weren't moving. And so it was all blocked up at the port of Vancouver, and it was just like, wow, feeling for everybody. This is a really hard time. Pandemic. It was COVID related for the slowness in China, and then it's just worldwide problems with just shipping in general. Because there's so little commercial flights, so everything's concentrating on the commercial stuff, and then it's been a big challenge. It's really nice this way, by the way. I made it. What I find with this tea, Kip, is it tastes really nice at 70 degrees, which is a surprise for me, because I always found that I would burn Kyoto teas when I made them at 70. So I wonder if he's steaming a little bit more. Be interesting to ask this guy how long he steams. It might be like a 45-second, 60-second steaming, because it tastes like the sugars are. But it tastes like it's a little bit more forgiving. Like you could put a little bit of hotter water on it, and you're just going to draw out more interesting flavors rather than drawing out harsh tannins. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And
I do know what you mean.
And it tastes very smooth. So if anybody's watching, here's a plug for Just Matcha. Go there, buy your, what is it? This is the Shincha 2021?
Shincha, yeah. The Shincha 2021.
Yeah. Very, very nice. Yeah, that's
good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's very good. When
if you want to put another plug in, we're doing a promotion for the rest of the month of August. Okay. And if you use the code Shincha15 on checkout, you will get 15% off.
Yeah, you will. Shincha15. So anybody watching, justmatcha.com, Shincha15. All one word and numerical 15, I would say?
Yeah.
Awesome. No, very, very good. Yeah, definitely. Everybody should go do that. We actually we do a collaborative process with, do you know O5T over in Vancouver?
I do, yes.
Yeah, we get along really well with the ownership there, and the owners.
Nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I've been over a couple of times.
I love them, and Pedro. We've known him since before.
He's got. You two would get along really well. Like you've got very similar approaches to tea.
Totally. Yeah. This whole we're kind of trying to take like a specialty wine approach, and he and I do like hopper swaps where we'll share switch tencha back and forth and then send it out. Have you ever done? Do you ever do subscriptions? Like that's so nice. Like I find that as a matcha purveyor, people sure love the monthly selections, and so we actually set them up so that it's like a magazine subscription. You just get it in the mail every month. I've tried to do that. I haven't been able to get it to work. Okay.
Website. Again, technophobe or whatever I am.
Yeah. I think they have
We have tried that. And
there's an app for that, right?
of course there is.
Yeah.
What the hell's an app?
Do you use WooCommerce or Shopify? Like if you use either of those, I think there's some pretty good options.
We use BigCommerce, and I'm switching to Shopify.
Okay.
And I'm actually in the process of moving us over to Shopify.
Amazing, because they're so streamlined, and I actually had one of my staff back before he had to leave due to the pandemic look into it and found some pretty streamlined stuff. You should totally do it. I highly recommend it.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, that's actually that's what I've been working on all summer. Is sort of, it's up. I have it up and running.
Uh-huh.
I just haven't finalized it in my head whether I like it better than what we've got on BigCommerce. That's all.
You should ask if you can bring in a little bit of tencha too. It'd be really fun to mill some of it here and drink your stuff like right out of the mill. That'd be really, really interesting.
Yeah, then I'd have to have a mill.
No, come over here. Just ask for a little sample, and then we'll just like hang out. We'll drink your tea right out of the mill. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That sounds like a good afternoon, actually.
Yeah, right? So,
Down.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, Sister Speak's in the East Coast right now, so it might be a little bit challenging logistically speaking. But
Okay, where are you, Sherri?
I am just about a little bit south of Montreal right now.
Lucky you.
yeah, right. So yeah.
Although Montreal's hot in the summer, but I do love Montreal. Great city.
Yeah, I really connect with it as well. Okay, awesome. We're coming up to the end of the show here, Kip. I was just wondering if you had any final words that you want to say to the viewers, or any questions you might have for Sherri Ann, or anything you just wanted to get out there before we end things off here.
Well, no, it's just I wanted to thank you. This has been a great experience. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and talk to you. And I'm sorry I'm not as up to my knowledge of matcha as you are, but
no.
you're the man.
Am I
right?
not? You're awesome, Kip. That's great. But I constantly hear how much fun people have going to Just Matcha and enjoying what you guys do.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. We like that kind of feedback.
Yeah, you provide a really fun atmosphere, and I think you guys seem to really authentically enjoy what you do. And I think that comes across.
It's been a labor of love for us. It really has. I mean, like I said, I could go do different things with the, but I've nobody ever said, Kip, these are the best financial statements I've ever seen.
No.
But I've had a lot of people come up to me and tell me that this is the best tea I've ever had, or that this has been a really wonderful experience, and then that kind of fills you up as a person. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, very satisfying. There's a certain I think there's a spiritual element to this idea of giving service. I think that
Absolutely
that really means a lot, and I think the takeaway from that is just again emotional and spiritual sustainability, and I think that it gets often overlooked if we focus too much on the financial statements keep us alive as a business, but those thank yous and that acknowledgement keep us alive.
That's wonderful, right?
As people, for sure.
Yeah,
awesome.
And I think especially during this pandemic and all the rest of this stuff, it's been a really great experience for, at least from what I've seen, to have that community,
right,
where people can come and sort of and feel comfortable and have a space and people around them that aren't
angry,
basically their minds about things, right?
Yeah.
And it's nice because drinking a tea with your friends is very calming, right? And everybody seems to be a little bit elevated with everything that's going on, right? Everybody's paying attention to the news and how many people have infections and all the rest of these things, right?
Yeah.
And just come and have a quiet space to enjoy a cup of tea among friends is a blessing.
Very, very ancient space for people to meet, for sure. And,
yeah,
really awesome. But Sherri Ann, did you have any final words for Kip here? Maybe talking about the matcha that you're drinking, or any words for his business, or anything you'd like to say at the end here?
I'm excited to try your matcha. I've been drinking the Gime Wakaba, and I'm so stoked that there are options that are so delicious, because I order matcha all the time when I'm traveling, and it's just really tough to get a good one. And the fact that you both have phenomenal ones is gives me hope in the world.
Do what we can.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. And those watching can go to patreon.com/sisterspeak if you want to go and support the music project there. Give it a listen on all your local or non-local streaming services such as Spotify and what have you. Just look up Sister Speak, sisterspeakmusic.com. Also, every Thursday, she does these live performances through her stream. You can catch them sometimes on Instagram and Facebook and all that fun stuff, but always on the Patreon channel. And if you want to go to Just Maccha, if you're in Victoria, they're just over in Chinatown. Go check them out. And online at justmatcha.com. Thank you to you both for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time today, both of you, and look forward to hanging out again soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us, Jared. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Okay, so had a really good time there with Sherri of Sister Speak and Kip Home over at Just Maccha. We had a chance to really enjoy their Shincha, this 2021 harvest from a connection that they have in Kyoto. And it was fantastic, so you should totally go check it out. And we'll see you next week, same cat channel, same cat time. See you later, Thursday, 1 o'clock. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.